Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the opening of the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We're not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican and then the Socialist. Yours truly, the exceptional one here. We are about to transcend in a manner so revered in our industry. We're about to give you a sneak peek of New Day Black and White, the Saturday hit show on WNJC 1360 AM. That city of brotherly love that broadcasted around the world. It is the home base of the most benevolent dictator in all of the UN, Rick Trader, Conservative Commandos Radio Network. My great host, because I'm just a sidekick on my creation, New Day Black and Red. I'm just carry the water, massage his feet, basically make him comfortable. Our great host, Dr. Michael Jones, will be joining us momentarily. This is a special night because we're going to focus on something that people on Capitol Hill are listening to this show tonight. This is a big show. I already got that word. And with everything that's happening at the Department of Justice and the FBI, I assure you, eyes and ears are wide open. Justice for all. Our founding fathers' thoughts of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. We're going to go there tonight, kids. And we're going to go there big. Of course, Mary Brockman's in our chat room. Of course, the benevolent dictator Rick Trader loves Mary more than me. Wink, wink, I love Mary more. And of course, Dave Milner, the unpleasant blind guy, will be joining us. Yep, he's in the chat room. We love him. We love him dearly. Mrs. Biggs is watching via live stream and Ustream, and we're broadcasting on High Plains Talk Radio, SHR Media, and Rebuting Liberty. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do very quickly, as I'm learning in this industry, we're going to do our Pledge of Allegiance as we start our show all the time. And then when we come back from a quick break, we will go directly to our beloved Dr. Michael Jones. Find your right hand, put it over your heart. We are about to begin our show.
Place your parents. Ready, begin. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, what a way to start the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back right after this message.
Hey, it's Jersey Joe, Reaver, Common Sense. You can catch me every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on SHRmedia.com. That's every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, SHRmedia.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
One ringy dingy, two ringy dingies. Hello, sir. It is.
There we go.
There we go.
Your little guy pan is ready.
Thank you, sir. Does it come with the breadsticks this time?
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, we didn't fill your order. You didn't call it in.
What a reference to not calling the professor this week, and I do apologize, sir. You are listening.
You don't love me, and I know it.
I love you. We'll talk about it after the show.
How come I always have to do a show with you during the middle of a Clinton-Sanders debate?
I know. I was wanting to watch it too. Oh, and it's on PBS this evening. Oh, golly.
There's nothing more conservative than tips.
Can you imagine what the questions are going to sound like? Hillary, are you thinking about something special tonight?
We interrupt this show for an emergency question of both candidates. We were a treat. None of the leaders did. Officers were serving a warrant in Riverdale, Georgia. Suspect ran out the back door and opened fire and killed one of the police officers in Atlanta. Riverdale, Georgia. Oh my gosh. Well, may light perpetual shine upon them, may ye enter into your heavenly kingdom, O Lord. It's spirited, it's sanctude, it's diligent.
Amen. Lord
What
Jesus.
is going on with cops? I had a guy on my Periscope show that was up there in Maryland where they just killed one. You know, the guy who went into the restaurant to help the mentally off guy, you know, and
Yeah.
he just asked him how he was doing and got shot right in the forehead.
Yeah.
These things are happening all over this country, and Beyonce secretly keeping Kim Kardashian in her back pants is out there complaining about cops.
Also, the grape from the Fruit of the Looms was back there too. So.
I thought maybe she borrowed one of the. What was the chick that sang the national anthem at the beginning? The meat-wearing girl.
Gaga, Lady Gaga.
Yeah, Gaga. Yeah, I thought maybe she borrowed one of those dresses, you know, that she has with the big balls. And,
you know, actually, 15 pounds ago, she could actually perform without falling. So.
Yeah. Her center of gravity was like 2 inches off the ground. You know, the Arizona people, I've been wondering about them. You know, they keep giving us John McCain, but the House in Arizona just approved God-only prayers.
Way to
no
go.
more non-God prayers. I presume that means Allah, because Allah is not God, is from the other place. He's from the south, not the north. And so I hope that means not there. But now secularists are upset because they think it discriminates against them. Well, let me tell you, if you're a secularist, then any prayer would discriminate against you, right? I mean, what kind of prayer could you have as a secularist?
Yeah, what kind of...
Nothing. Please give me nothing because you don't exist. In your non-name, we don't pray.
And don't say amen. A woman.
Yeah. A woman, a transgender thing.
A hobby lobbyist.
Yeah. Spirits of Chick-fil-A.
We are listening tonight.
That I should love you despite your faults.
That's right. We're listening tonight to Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor. Just came off his particular program for this very special Saturday show. Well, actually, you're getting a sneak peek. All the ones who are listening tonight are getting a sneak peek of the Saturday WNJC 1360 AM Big Hit, New Day Black and Red, featuring Dr. Michael Jones with sidekick Ken McClinton, the exceptional one. I'm just glad to be here in your presence. Hopefully the green M&Ms are warm, sir, in your room.
Why would you try to cuddle up to me right now? Oh, no. Oh, no, you didn't.
I know you're there. Tonight we're going to be talking about two major subjects, and will you be around for the second half?
I don't know. I don't know if I like you yet.
Ah, gee.
Man, I'm telling you what. This is so much. Now I regret giving you Peaches back.
7 years. You promised me 7 years.
Well, I shouldn't have broke that mirror, let me tell you. Take on my part. No, I can do it, but I might have to eat something while we're talking because I haven't eaten anything.
Well, you can eat while I do a 30-minute portion of the second half, the first quarter.
Oh, the commercial section?
Yeah, I'll do that section. That section I will forego of commercials because yours truly is here. And we will do a biblical look at our top subject for the night that we will cover in the second half virtually. And that's justice for all, our founding fathers' thoughts of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. In the second quarter of our show, and Mary Brockman knows how I do my shows. Of course, Mrs. Biggs is watching via live stream and Ustream. And Mary Brockman's my bouncer. She knows how I do my show. We split it up into 4 quarters. The first quarter, we will focus today on treating uniforms badly, and that's a look at Iran in Hanover County, Maryland. In the second quarter of our program, we'll talk about what the Founding Fathers thought about justice. And we'll focus on just the Founding Fathers' ideals and how that compares to the actions of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and look at her actions, the 22 big scandals that she's been involved in her career. And then in the first half of the second half of our program, I will be taking a biblical look at the role of justice in the eyes of God. And then, of course, in the latter half or the fourth quarter of our program, the great Dr. Michael Jones will be speaking with us on the constitutional format of justice in America. And we'll be taking a look at the Federalist Paper number 70 and that was virtually a predeposition of what we were supposed to, I'm sorry, 78, what we were supposed to have and then what we got. So, what?
What we're supposed to have, we're nowhere near anymore.
Heck no! People, you need to go back and read the Anti-Federalist Papers and the Federalist Papers. Sometime this spring, you should just read over them. Because the way the Founding Fathers started this, we are nowhere near it. We lost that when we got off on Ramp 62 and just started going north somewhere. It just, we're gone. Sir, an embarrassment. Film coming out showing the Navy sailor crying.
Well, he is in the Navy. I mean, give him a break.
He's not an Air Forceman. You got to give the Rangers and the Army and the Navy guys a little bit, because like Chris Pronto and those guys, you got to give them a little bit of slack. If only they were Air Forcemen.
It's the military version of the short bus.
We'll tell Chris that.
Tell him I said it. You know what? I rarely can stay awake for the Sackhead guys when they do their show because it comes on. It starts like at 10 p.m., right?
Yeah.
Central Time. And that is way past my bedtime. But I'll tell you what, I got some high praise from Sean on there last night, didn't I?
Yes, you
They
did.
even compared me. They even said, who are you talking about? Are you talking about Chris Peranto or Mike? And I said, yes, I'm being compared, you know, so.
Well, you deserve it. I mean, you're a hero.
You know,
Very few
it's
people.
hard to tell us apart when
Very
you see us.
exactly.
Nice about it.
I can tell you apart because you're more svelte than he is. But
That's what it is. I'm taller.
you got a couple of six packs. That's how I can tell the difference.
Well, we both have six-pack abs.
Oh, and we will be back in Las Vegas this summer. You're going back, am I correct, for Freedom Fest?
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, they sent me the code for me to enter to register. I just can't get it to work. So, but I'm going to go, and this time I'm staying at the hotel that it's at.
There you go. Yeah.
I learned my lesson there, and I'm bringing all the equipment and everything. We're going to do it right. I've already requested the last table, too. So,
good.
On radio.
Yeah.
So I can be back there by the book, guys.
Well, I'm scheduled, and I'll be scheduling to go to Las Vegas with my wife if I can demystify her of her duty of her contentment with education for the summer. If she, you know, but
She's the way you treat your best friend. I don't know if she'll want to go with you.
We'll be at Freedom Fest. And I'm also announcing tonight, and thank God for New Day Black and Red, I get a chance to do it to the national audience on Saturday, that I will be at the Texas State Convention with Dan Butcher and the great group of people from SHR Media and High Plains Talk Radio. And I'm encouraging my good friend to come with me.
Yeah, couldn't call and ask.
This is how you do it. See, if I called and asked, we would have a conversation where you'd be thinking about it, and you know. See, now I put you on the spot. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what city that's going to be in. Do you know?
Yeah, it's going to be in Dallas. It's going to be in Dallas.
It's in Dallas?
It's in
I
Dallas.
can't go to Dallas. I don't have an updated passport.
You darn skip me. And they know a conservative when they see one. You can't go to Dallas.
I can't go to Dallas. That's too many. You know, Dallas and Houston are like the capital for gays and transgenders and everything. And yet Dallas is in the news because they just blocked a sex or whatever they're calling it, a convention on sex workers and sexual toys and whatnot. I don't know what all it is, but they decided that Dallas is not, that's not the image of Dallas, right?
Really?
Which sounds kind of conservative means, it's surprising. And they're going to lose, too, because if they actually do ban Sexpo, or Sexpo, whatever it's called, that they're going to be paying a huge price for that, because I used to be on the planning and zoning committees in Halton City, and I can tell you that our lawyer would have come and told us, you can't ban this without changing the rules, and since you change the rules, then that would mean that you'll have to allow them this time, but, you know, before you can stop them next time. And yeah, they have, you know, they have the rights to do things, just like gun shows have rights to go and do it and whatnot here in Texas. And like it or not, it's part of freedom of speech. And, you know, they certainly don't have to advertise it or promote it.
Yeah.
They can tax the living crap out of it. And that's what they should do. Is, you know, they do that, then they should just place a tax on every item sold that it's so confiscatory. Oh my goodness, there is something talking in the other room.
You know, this is my understanding. That's a First Amendment right, but it's amazing how people who want to take away your First Amendment right fall back on the flag when they want to do something. You know?
Oh, right. Not your rights, but mine. Yeah, exactly. That's what always happens. So, anyway, I plan. Oh, where did it go? I don't know where it went. I have a. Oh, here it is. I'm on the wrong page. Never mind. Here's what's going to happen. we have Super Tuesday on. This year we're having Super Tuesday on of all days Tuesday. And it's going to be less, but, you know, for the progressives listening.
For the Common Core factor in our audience,
Right.
It is Tuesday.
So March the 1st is our primary election in Texas, part of Super Tuesday, okay? And as I've been teaching people, if you want to get involved to save this country, you must get involved in party politics or quit bitching about the fact the Republican Party is not conservative. And so the way you do it is, on the primary election, you vote, and then there is a precinct convention 30 minutes after, and then you go into the precinct convention. The only ticket required is to have voted in the Republican primary. Democrats have the same thing. And then there you compete to become a delegate to the senatorial district convention. Okay? That will be next. And I'm not really sure when that convention is going to be, but you go to that convention, and from there you get selected to go to the state convention, the state Republican Party convention, as a delegate. And as a delegate, you know, then you have certain obligations and privileges to go to the convention on voting and whatnot. And so when people are voting in this state for who they want for as our candidate for the party, then those votes get transferred into the electoral delegates there, and then they vote for it. But if there's a problem, we could have a floor vote to determine this. I don't perceive the one, but that's part of the duties there. And the state convention is very big and important because at the state convention, I may have confused conventions here, but at the state convention, we not only vote and determine how the Republican Party platform of Texas will be, and the Texas Republican Convention, because that's what we're talking about, but we also select the national delegates to go to the national convention. And that is extremely important. And we also select the electoral delegates of that convention for the national convention. And those are the actual people who will go and vote for president. When you vote for president on the national general election for president, you're not voting for Trump or Cruz or whoever. Let's say Trump is our nominee. He gets to become the candidate for the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And Bernie Sanders is the Democrat. Well, then, when you go vote on general election day, you're voting for either the electoral delegates for Bernie Sanders or the electoral delegates for Trump. And those delegates get selected at the state conventions. And then they meet in December to vote for the president, you see, who then comes in February.
Yeah.
And it beats Congress in. And so, anyway, that's why those are all important. And this is how you become part of that process. And if at the national convention, the Democrats could very well have a
broker convention?
Broker convention.
Yes.
I predicted that a while back, and it looks like it. People were saying the Republican Party was going to do it because we're just too divided, but I don't think we are. And as people drop out, they're going to see us become more and more focused, and I don't think we're going to have a brokered convention. And the interesting thing is that the Democrat Party is using your favorite, the supernumerary delegates, the at-large superdelegate, to make sure that Clinton's fixed it. So, interesting.
I just...
Anyway, that's how that all goes. I will be at that convention. Nice for y'all to let me know you wanted to come in my backyard. I'll offer a room.
Wait a minute, Professor.
Your house. You wouldn't even drive me by your house when I went up there. You'll find out you live in a rich neighborhood.
It's not true. I don't live in a very wealthy neighborhood.
I understand it was one of Martha Washington's plantations.
She gave me the house.
Stays in the family.
You're listening to the great Professor Dr. Michael Jones. He is the underground professor, world renowned, and also the exceptional one, Kim McClinton. of the Exceptional Conservative Show. This is New Day Black and Red. We're broadcasting over WNJC 1360 AM from the city of brotherly love. That's Philadelphia, PA. On the great benevolent dictators Conservative Commandos Radio Network. That's Rick Trader for all of those following along at home. We also want to thank SHR Media, Rebooting Liberty, and High Plains Talk Radio, where Dan Butcher's wife does all the work and Dan gets the credit. So, I just want to say, sir, it's not just your backyard. I remember that
No, it's one.
No, it's not. It's not just your backyard, because Brian Glover made me an honorary Texan. So there.
Yeah, Brian doesn't like me anymore, so that doesn't count.
So you take away the honorarium. Oh, yeah.
Because he made it on my show, so it only counts when he still comes to my show. Actually, Brian, I just listens to it every now and then on archives and stuff. Every now and then I see his name pop up. But, I hope he's doing well. Has anybody heard from him lately? How his health is? Because I know he, like most of us, had health problems.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him for a while. I'm praying for him. I hope that he feels better and gets better.
I hope he'll join us there for that. I can't imagine him missing it, but
I would love to see Brian. Really would.
Yeah.
I'd
love to have another dinner with the two of you, but I've got scars on my right hand.
That's not true.
I forgot to mention, the precinct convention is where I get elected to be precinct chairman.
And I will be there for that.
No, that's the Super Tuesday.
Okay, then I will not be there for that.
Yeah, but the odds are that if I am a precinct chairman, then I will be. The odds of becoming a delegate to the state convention are higher. You know, it's very competitive.
Yeah.
And Texas is a very competitive one because we have something like 270 counties, and so there's a lot of delegates that go to it, and so you have to. Usually, they try to get a mix of people who do a lot of work for the party and new people that are just starting, so that they can get a feel for why they want to do this and what the goals are and rewards. But you know, a lot of people think that conventions are all business and they're all about getting the right person elected. But what they really are is they're a big party for the hard workers of the Republican and Democrat parties. And it's to get them in the right mindset and get them energized to go out there and do all the hard work for the general election campaign trail. And that's what the state conventions are primarily for, and the general elections, the national convention. And it's to get them all jazzed up to go out and do the groundwork that's going to be required to your party to be victorious.
And there's going to be a lot of work coming up in the fall. Because the Socialist Party is doing all that it can. Tonight I got news from Sandy Frazier, who is a great PR woman, and she helps me out a great deal in terms of getting great guests for the Conservative Commandos radio show, in which I appear on Fridays at 3 p.m. Just plugging away tonight.
I bet you answer her phone calls.
Yes, I do. Sandy says that Hillary referred to a new form of medical care called Hillary Care. So I guess we reached that point.
We are reconnecting you now.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
The blog talk people are hating on me again.
Well, that's why
they could not be my show offline.
I enjoyed listening to your show the other day, and I, with all due respect, I really think you should transfer over because you do have a face for radio. You should do Ustream. I'm just saying, Ustream. But enough said there.
Live stream.
Oh, we love streams.
Stream.
You're listening to us tonight, and we really appreciate that. But I want to go to the topic of treating uniforms badly. We've been talking about the Hanover County, Maryland shooting.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're telling us about some girl that's phone call you returned.
Oh, she mentioned that Hillary referred to a new form of medical care that she'd like to implement called Hillary Care. And stop twisting it so I get in trouble with my wife when the show's over.
I don't care how many numbers you have in your phone.
Oh!
My goodness. Just be careful.
This is my brother, and I love him, and this is the way he treats me.
So Ken, we have, how do I say this tactfully? You listened to my last show.
Yeah.
After I got done ranting about Blog Talk, what did you think? About my assessment of the candidates for the Republican Party.
I loved all of your assessments. They were wonderful, and they were pinpoint, except for Ted Cruz. Now, I'm going to say, sir, I'm going to say, sir, I'm just saying, I'm going to say, sir, that he has been wrongly pinned, and he is not making as many mistakes as you said he was making, and he's a real great guy, and we want him to be president. So there.
Yeah. Is this Chris Christie or?
Oh man, I hear Chris Christie is going to be hired by Bernie Sanders so he could do the hit job on Hillary.
I'm still telling you that I think Trump made a deal with them to be a suicide bomber and go in there and knock out Rubio. Because, I think with all the self-created immolations that Cruz is going through, I think Trump saw Rubio was the next threat. And so, and I think that, he's got a cabinet position. Trump wins. I almost want to see Trump win just to see if my theory's right.
No, I think you're absolutely right on point. One of them had to go down. Chris Christie knew he was. He could be the sacrificial lamb. He's about to leave his governorship because I don't think they're going to vote him back in. And
that's kind of good news because I think one of the lucky things that we're going to get out of this is Rubio is not going to return either. He's going to lose his job. So if he doesn't become president, I think we're pretty much done with messing with Rubio.
Well, according to Jeb Bush, according to Jeb Bush, Rubio never showed up for work anyway. So hey.
You don't listen to my show live, obviously, because I was just teaching everybody how to be the smartest person in the room when it comes to saying Jeb Bush. Because that's like saying Bush twice. The B in Jeb stands for Bush. It's John Ellis Bush or something like that, and that's what Jeb is. His name's John Ellis or Eli or something like that, Bush.
So
JB stands, yeah. So the B in Jeb stands for Bush. So you're like saying John Ellis Bush when you say Jeb Bush.
So he's kind of like New York.
Yeah. Yeah. You can have it your way. You can do it your way.
Yeah. Wow.
In your Jeb Bush.
Dave Milner says that Kasich and Gilmore need to take one for the team and drop out.
I didn't know Gilmore was still in. I thought he went over to join the Gilmore Girls or something. I saw that on a Fox News thing that popped up on my screen. I'm like, what? Gilmore's still a candidate? I mean, Christie and Firioni and Santorum all leave, but Gilmore's sticking it out. Okay.
I just want to say this, though, about Kasich, because it seems that he doesn't want to go back home, and neither do the Ohioans want him to come back. So
he can move to New Hampshire, evidently. They like him.
They love him there.
Yeah. Man, I don't know what it is, but I am so uncomfortable with Kasich.
Wow.
His dad was a mailman.
Really?
And, I heard this, and I'm thinking if that qualifies Kasich to be president, well, then why don't they just elect me? I am a mailman.
Yes, you are.
They knock off Coffee's son. I am the real deal. So
exactly. Exactly.
So forget it, Kasich. But when he has constantly to say things, and then he says, "I'm kidding," please.
No,
I don't know.
Kasich lost me when he tried to justify socialism by a biblical standard. That we have to be compassionate. That's what the Bible says. And I don't see anywhere in the Bible where it says that a man must give up his wealth to another man who didn't work or earn it.
But you notice that Kasich's not living as a monk in a monastery.
He will be when he loses this race, I tell you that. Because Ohio doesn't want him back.
I don't know. I honestly don't think that Kasich ever thought he had a chance. But this gets him into the limelight. It makes him some money, and it makes him somebody that is still relevant.
Exactly.
And, you know, I get that. I really do. And this is why you see one of the Pauls, Rand or the other one, Ron, one of them was always running for president, too, because it is a huge moneymaker. And Huckabee does the same thing.
Santorum
gets money and then pals out real quick, you know. And,
yep.
And so, what?
Santorum.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing it.
You should. Listen, Vermin Supreme.
Yes, my hero.
Yeah, he came behind Martin O'Malley, who came behind the write-in vote. So the.
I was telling Vermin to start shining his booty wares on his head because I'm seeing all the way to the White House.
There you go, Vermin. We for you, man.
Any man whose campaign promise is that he will give a unicorn from where's that place the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe go to? The wardrobe leads to.
Yeah. Hernia.
Narnia, not Portlandia, Narnia.
Hernia.
He promises everybody a unicorn from there, and I think it's spot on. I mean, how do you go wrong with a campaign like that?
You can't. You can't. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Dr. Michael Jones, who is the underground professor on a world-renowned urban format where he's number one, and his sidekick, the exceptional one, Ken McClinton. Who just
seen that John B. King's being nominated for the Secretary of Education?
For what? For what?
If you go to USA Today and look at the picture, he looks like a deer in headlights. Like, oh, really? That's the guy who's going to be responsible for educating everybody. And he's up there going like, dude. He's a 41-year-old, and he's been acting secretary since Arnie Duncan stepped down, you know. And I thought they were going to pull his nomination. That's what everybody was thinking. Senator Lamar Alexander, you know, he's from Tennessee, Republican.
Yeah.
He chairs the Education Committee. I thought they were going to place a hold on it, but he's urging Obama to bring the nomination to the Senate. And since we just reauthorized the No Child Left Behind or Educated law, I think the rhinos are feeling pretty confident they can get another Democrat to do nominations.
Well, that's the important thing for a Republican who is pro-Obama. Make certain that all of his judiciary decisions get accepted and put as many people into positions of authority as you can so the socialism light can go hardcore.
Yeah. Now, you know, I don't know a lot about King, but I do know one thing about him. And he started in New York a charter school system, 50 schools that's called Uncommon Schools.
Yeah.
And the famous Roxbury Prep and others come from that, and over in Brooklyn. And so, you know, he may not be the worst person to put in there. I mean, just because he was nominated by Obama doesn't mean he might be the worst. But anyway, that's something I think is interesting, and I thought I would share that with you.
Well, I'm glad you shared that with me. Thank you for making.
I'm a sharer.
You are.
I do things like that, like I call and I answer.
So, are you going to be at the convention, sir? Staying at the convention? Yeah, see, that was the best way to handle it.
And guess what? It's going to be over there near the Section 8 housing I showed you. It's going to be right down the street from there.
There's no Section 8 housing in Dallas. They all have oil wells on them.
I showed you the houses. I drove you by that, remember?
Yes, you did. They all have oil wells.
In Texas, our Section 8 housing is gated.
In Texas, if you only have one oil well, you are on welfare.
That's not really true. In Texas, I mean, let's be honest. In Texas, if you don't have an oil well, you're unwelcome. One oil well puts you in the middle class.
Oh, man. Oh, gee. Listen, I want to play this
I
clip.
have to tell you this, Ken.
You have to
Every time you laugh, Mandy Sue starts purring louder.
Oh,
I don't know if
she's.
you can hear her, but yeah, she just started purring again every time you laugh.
Oh, thank you. Cats love me, dogs hate me. I don't know. I think it's racial. I want to play this. I want to play this clip for us real quick.
Okay.
This is Roy Reid interviewing Hillary Clinton, and this is very disturbing. We're going to set a course for you to understand why we're going to talk about Hillary Clinton tonight and our founding fathers and what justice is really all about, because it's amazing that this woman has, if you look at the Espionage Act, she has at least 220 years for all of the top secrets that she's put on her server. She should not be running for any political. She shouldn't even be running on a jogging field.
No.
She shouldn't be running.
Out there having 1 hour of prison yard time every day.
Exactly.
She'll run around in there in her orange suit.
So
By the way, the reason dogs don't like you, Ken, is because you call them cats. Mandy Sue is highly offended.
I apologize, Mandy Sue, but I remember.
You'll have to call her and tell her, don't do it on the radio.
I remember her holding a conversation with me where she said she was slightly undecided. So I apologize. I should have kept that secret.
It's the brother keeping you down.
This is Hillary Clinton being interviewed by Roy Reid.
Well, play it already.
I'm playing it.
You're a player. You're a
Say
player.
how you've done some criminal work. Can you tell me a little about that? What sort of?
I didn't do much, but I talked to them about I did some, I never did a criminal trial. I did, jury trial. I did, probable cause hearings and other cases. I had some really tough crimes. I didn't want to appear. The prosecutor called me years ago. And he had a guy who was accused of rape. And the guy wanted to live in one. He was favored him.
That's good.
You know that case I represented that guy? It was a fascinating case. It was a really interesting case. This guy was accused of raping a 12-year-old. He was the daughter of the family he was living in Springfield. He lived on the other side of the tracks in Springfield. And the guy was from Green Forest. His family still had a little farm. And he was one of these. He was focused. He wasn't going to make a living on the land. He was kind of around. Ended up in Springfield looking. Of course, he claimed that he did all this stuff. He took a lie detector test. I had him pilot, which he passed, which forever destroyed my faith in politics. What was sad about it was that the prosecutors had evidence, among which was his underwear. Which was his underwear, which was white. Sent out of crime lab for the records to form the crime lab took a pair of underpants, immediately cut out the part that they were going to test. Came back with the result of what kind of blood was, what was mixed in with it. Then sent the pants back with the hole in it, and with the evidence. So I got word to see the evidence, and the prosecutor didn't want me to see the evidence. I had to lock the cover, but yes, indeed, I had a right to see the evidence before it was presented. They presented the evidence with a hole in it. I said, what kind of evidence is that? That evidence with a hole in it. Of course, the crime lab had thrown away the piece that they cut out. It was real. I mean, I plea bargained it down because they didn't have any, it turned out they didn't have any others. But I happened to be going to New York, and I took the underpants with me, and I black over the year. And I went to Brooklyn, where this man's name I now cannot remember, who had shared the Nobel Prize for his work on the RH factor, and was one of the real premier investigators in the field of blood. He had retired from Sloan Kettering or someplace up there. He still lived in the same house where his father had been born, and now he had a huge fence around it over this wound out section of Brooklyn. And he had taken a real interest in forensic work. And so he would analyze blood stains if he got interested in the case. So the stories were grapevine was if he became interested in the case, then you had the foremost expert in the world willing to testify if somebody that came out the way you wanted it to come out. And so I wrote him and got an appointment to see him and took a taxi over this section of Brooklyn I'd never heard of, never seen before. Got through the gates, got into his office, and he had a basement just absolutely packed with detective magazines and things like that. And he sat at his low desk, and I pulled out my underpants, gave him to him. Started analyzing, looking at fibers, magnifying glass and all that stuff. And you can't prove anything. You can't even start to see a slight trace, but it wouldn't be enough to test. I went back and told Maynard Gibson that I had I cut out who's who, and I've done all this stuff, and handed it to Maynard Gibson. I said, well, I've just gotten ready to come from New York. That was miscarriage of justice. And we were plea bargains, so I went before Malcolm Cummings to present the plea. And Malcolm said, what is this? And, I thought it was, first degree rape. And, he's dropping the charges, dropping. I can't understand.
Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you could hear that, and I apologize for the graininess of it all, but basically, Hillary Clinton, understanding that this gentleman have lied regarding a rape case, raping a 12-year-old girl in a family's home, which broke her faith in polygraphs because he was able to pass the polygraph. She was able to get the charges dropped against him, so that he would only have to serve a few years in prison. But the whole concept here is simply that she has an incredible ability to bend the truth. And it started out with her in her legal practice, and it continues even today as she's running for president of the United States. There's some 22 cases of... Yes, sir.
Don't forget, when she was an apprentice, when she went to college, Wellesley,
Yes.
where they turned her into the Nazi that she became, she was from a good Republican family. And then she betrayed them and then went after Nixon and lied and was kicked off the committee of impeachment that were looking at impeachment charges because she was making things up and lying back then. And she's never stopped or looked back.
Never. Never stopped at all. Now, there are 22...
Whitewater, cattle futures, $100,000, made $1 million. It's just incredible the things she's done.
Yeah, and let's talk about those, because I have a list of them right here. And I want to thank WND for putting this list together for me. I appreciate that. Here are Hillary's 22 biggest scandals ever. Number one. Her number one scandal being the covering up of the audit against she and her husband. And
they don't have Benghazi as number one.
No. This is an audit against her.
People lost their lives in Benghazi.
Yeah, but the government lost money.
Never mind. Nothing worse for a politician than them losing money they can spend on someone else.
Number one, The Clintons turned the IRS into a Gestapo. They were one of the original ones that used the IRS to go after their enemies. Whether it was the National Rifle Association, Concerned Women for America, Citizens Against Government Waste. It didn't matter what organization. If you were an enemy of the Clintons, they were going to stick the IRS on you. Number 2, covering up Bill's dirty secrets. Now, you may have noticed in the radio interview with Roy Reed, she had a very country accent.
I thought Loretta Lynn was talking, not Hillary.
She knows how to turn it off and turn it on. But we all know that Bill Clinton's favorite sport is women. And he loves women in sports. It doesn't matter one way or the other. But she's been covering for his sexual impropriety for a number of years.
Eruptions, she calls it.
Yes. Which are fathomable. They're understood. Reach a certain age and you have to erupt. But if you go down the list of women who have paid the price for knowing Bill, Juanita Broderick, the woman allegedly raped by Bill, you talk about Jennifer Flowers, Kathleen Willey, Paula Jones, and the list continues on, including traveling with someone who had a great affinity for little boys. So Hillary has been covering Bill and lying for Bill for another number of years. Number 3, remember when they left the White House and they didn't leave without taking most of the furniture?
Oh yeah, all the furniture, took all the W's off of all the keyboards.
Exactly. They took $190,000 worth of gifts and furnishings from the White House.
Yeah. And that doesn't include the amount of money it spent to replace the keyboards. People think, oh, that was just a harmless high school kind of joke, but it cost the taxpayer a lot of money.
Oh yeah. And that includes seats on overseas trade missions, export licenses, rides on Air Force One, overnight stays in the White House Lincoln bedroom, graves onto cemetery, meetings with key Clinton appointees and administration leaders, just because they were getting an exchange of donor versus gifting of staying at the White House.
Well, they thought when they went out to other countries, if the country gave them something, they thought it was theirs. Most presidents understand that it belongs to the country, or they'll keep it, but it goes into the library. It's not sitting on their buffet table in their kitchen.
Yeah.
These people are hillbillies. They give hillbillies a bad name. They're kleptomaniac thieves.
I want you to know that we just got word from the Hillbilly Association of America, and they are completely pissed with you right now. They are offended.
Yeah. Well, I got good news for you about something, and I apologize to all hillbillies everywhere. At least y'all can read. Hillary Clinton in the debate tonight made an announcement that on health care, she was talking about health care there a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Well, she's determined that we are not England and we are not France, which is a big plus, because I did not realize she knew that.
Wow.
I don't know what that means, but she's declared it.
So all those years of traveling around the country and around the world, she finally figured it. Good for her.
I think that's just her way of deflecting that it doesn't work in any of those countries, and so, but it's going to work here, even though it hasn't.
Well,
fewer people had insurance than started before Obamacare, but that doesn't count.
Well, we got a lot more of other people's money than than those countries do. So
we can transfer. Yeah.
Number 4, Filegate, in which they actually picked up the Clintons. Files from the FBI on adversaries in the Republican Party.
and Vince Foster had something to do with that too, if I remember.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. Hillary's Muslim Brotherhood princess, Huma Abedin, okay, who might be involved as well in the cover-up of the emails. Okay.
Might.
It's alleged. It's alleged. We don't know for certain. But certainly, her father was a Saudi finance, had a Saudi finance Islamic think tank, in Aberdeen, worked alongside Abdullah Ammar Nassif, who is accused of financing Al-Qaeda fronts. Nassif is deeply connected to the Aberdeen family. So there you go. So Al-Qaeda is connected with the Clintons. Vince Foster's 1993 death. Ooh, suicide, right?
Yeah. That's why I say Bernie Sanders should be on some kind of watch list.
Exactly. In fact, Edward Klein wrote of Hillary's involvement in the effort to remove Foster's files. The night of Foster's death, Hillary launched one of the most shameful and illegal cover-ups of her entire career. She sent two of her most trusted White House loyalists, Maggie Williams, the First Lady's Chief of Staff, and Patsy Thomason, who was in charge of White House administration, into Foster's house to retrieve embarrassing and incriminating documents related to the Whitewater and Hillary's other personal affairs. While White House counsel Bernard Nussbaum barred investigators from entering Foster's office, Maggie Williams, Patsy Thomason, and Craig Livingston, Hillary's director of White House security, removed artifacts of files, envelopes of files, forgive me, and loose leaf binders. In addition, a White House staffer allegedly tampered with the titles of several memos and removed the First Lady's initials in an effort to erase her role in improper behavior. How about Emailgate, which is listed as number 7 in this top 22? It is entitled "She Should Go to Prison." According to this, WND reported that Hillary kept all of her official correspondence as Secretary of State, as well as her personal emails, on a private email server located at her home, instead of using the government-mandated process while serving in the high appointed positions. But Professor, didn't every Secretary of State do the very same thing? Put a server in someone's bathroom?
Well, Colin Powell says yes. So, according to Colin Powell, 2 wrongs make a right.
There you Most certainly.
I think we should be investigating Colin Powell, too.
I think so.
He needs to go to jail, yeah.
I think so. I think that's a very good suggestion. Then there's Chinagate. Now, according to Chinagate, Judicial Watch has uncovered that technology companies allegedly made donations of millions of dollars to various Democrat Party entities, including President Bill Clinton's 1996 re-election campaign, in return for permission to sell high-tech secrets to China. There you go.
Is that the L'Oreal debacle where Clinton gave nuclear and space-capable
that you are
GPS tracking and stuff so they can actually direct their missiles to hit us?
Yes, you are absolutely correct. And in a column entitled "Proof Hillary Isn't Fit to Be President," Clayman writes that, not to be outdone by her prior scandals, Hillary masterminded a scheme whereby the Clinton-Gore presidential campaign of 1996 took bribes from communist Chinese banks and their government to bankroll the president's and the Democrat Party's re-election efforts when it appeared, due to their low standing in the polls, that all the stops needed to be pulled out. It was a lawsuit that I brought against Secretary of Commerce Ron Brown, and I went to school with Ron Brown Jr., where at Hillary's instruction, he literally sold seats on Department Trade missions to China and elsewhere, which principally uncovered this. In late 1996 and early 1997, the scandal had burgeoned to such a level that joint congressional hearings were impaneled, ultimately to be shut down when Democrats uncovered illegal fundraising by some Republicans. The two parties faced with mutual assured destruction simply looked an exit stage left. However, I sold her on with my lawsuit, and while I uncovered a lot about Bonnie and Clyde and their Chinese friends, this scandal ultimately took backseat to the Monica Lewinsky scandal, since the media preferred sex to foreign espionage and graft. Hillary and Bill were ironically saved by Monica. There you go.
And don't forget that not only were they selling seats to businessmen for their business trips that would get preferred business treatment in places like China.
Yep.
But they were selling the Lincoln bedroom out too for donors. You know, you donate $10,000, $100,000, you got to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom.
Yes, you got this down pat. And if
well, I don't know who Pat is, but I do know a lot.
In the Travelgate scandal, which is number 9, the staff of the White House travel office was fired to make way for Clinton cronies, including Bill's 25-year-old cousin, who was reportedly promised the position of office director. Wow. And then, of course, Whitewater itself. Jail for friends, but not for the Clintons. The Whitewater investigation by independent counsel Kenneth Starr began in 1994 with accusations of impropriety against the Clintons and others concerning improper campaign contributions, political and financial favors, and tax benefits. Its initial subject was a failed Arkansas real estate venture involving the Clintons in the 1980s that was linked to the collapse of Madison Guaranty Savings and Loan, a Little Rock savings bank run by the Clintons, Whitewater business partners. Clinton friends James and Susan McDougal went to jail for fraud. James died while serving his sentence, as did former Arkansas Governor Jim Tucker and municipal judges David Hale and Eugene Fitzhugh.
Everybody but the Clintons.
Everybody but the Clintons. Number 11.
Yes.
You are a serviceman, a former serviceman, and you have been allegedly. Okay, because you're an Air Forceman, you probably were eating while everyone else was fighting. But the important thing was you were there.
I've seen the elephant.
You've been under fire.
Civil War term, Ken.
It was?
A Civil War term. You know how you hear today, someone says that the elephant's in the room, you know?
Yeah.
But we don't talk about it. Well, that came from the fact that there was a term in the Civil War that was used by servicemen that if they had seen combat, then they'd seen the elephant. And then when they would go back to, the civilian world, right? Well, they'd be sitting there with missing a limb or in shell shock.
36 hours ago, you were Jeff and Susan. Now, you're mom and dad. But you've got this.
That's where we get that all from.
Oh, good. I apologize. I pressed the button and...
No, please.
I apologize. Someday.
Yeah, I've been there. I've done that.
Yeah.
I got the shirt.
You got the shirt and the T-shirt.
And the stars.
But in this regard, remember Hillary said that she was under fire in Bosnia. And this is her quote. She says, "I remember landing under sniper fire," Hillary said of her visit while she was First Lady. "There was supposed to be some kind of a greeting ceremony at the airport, but instead we just ran with our heads down to get into the vehicles to get to our base."
If it wasn't for Brian Williams, they could have all died.
Exactly. And we really appreciate Brian Williams for stepping out there and being a great man and taking the bullets. What a man. What a mighty good man. Also, number 12, Hillary's missing law firm building records.
Rose Law Firm.
There you go.
For 200.
Good going, man. The White House said it didn't have the 115 pages of files that were supposed to be subpoenaed by federal investigators regarding her days as a partner in the Rhodes Law Firm. And Hillary claimed she had a minor role in the affair. The Washington Examiner reported that when the records mysteriously turned up in the White House in 1996, they showed she met repeatedly with key figures in the scandal. This woman is just dirty. Dirty.
Any one scandal so far would completely stop a Republican candidate.
Oh man, milking the cow backwards will probably stop the Republican from running for office.
Well, I'm telling you. Think about this. There are so many that, by what you have done, there are people out there saying that there's no way in hell this could be true. That there's no way these people could still be in office and still do what they do and not be in jail, because they know they themselves would be in jail, but they're not Clintons. And yet they want to put this evil woman back into the White House.
Yeah, and her husband.
Oh yeah, that worked well.
Don't forget Partingate. Number 13, Partingate, Hillary Senate contributions. Before Bill Clinton left the White House in 2001, he granted numerous controversial pardons, including to convicted tax evader Mark Rich, whose wife made significant contributions to who? Hillary Clinton for her Senate campaign. Man. And apparently, he evaded $48 million in taxes living in Switzerland. Hillary's brothers, Tony and Hugh Rodham, reportedly received large amounts of money from people who were pardoned by Bill Clinton. Hillary says she and Bill were unaware of the scheme. Ooh, clutch the pearls.
Hey, careful.
Number 14, Hillary's cash cow. And this is Hillary's cash cow.
Yeah, $100,000 into $1 million, the cattle share.
How do you do it? I'm sitting back and I want to take notes. How do you do it? She made a $1,000 investment.
Yes.
And it was turned into $100,000 of profit. During
the professor and you're the student.
That's right. That's right. And I want to sit at your feet. I want to figure out how to do this. During Mr. Clinton's tenure as governor, Tyson benefited from several state decisions, including favorable environmental rulings, $9 million in state loans, and the placement of company executives on important state boards. The commodity trades were the most successful investment the Clintons ever made. They nearly made $100,000 profit. And they set it aside wonderfully for their daughter's future in securities and real estate for Chelsea. So they were looking forward.
She's already a multi-millionaire and hasn't worked a day in her life.
Isn't that wonderful? I wish I were her. Well,
I wish I'd have married her.
There you go. That's what I
tell you what, I could have borrowed one of the Sackhead Sacks and made babies with her.
You could have. Number 15. In court, number 15, Clinton body count. You find dead people.
Yeah, that's what that movie Sixth Sense was really all about. When you're around the Clintons,
I see dead people. The number of dead people around the Clintons. The Clinton body count, first published in WNJC and later circulated by Linda Tripp to Monica Lewinsky, is a collection of names of people associated with Clinton administration scandals who have died mysteriously and often violent deaths. Talk about communism, man. This is out of the Stalin notebook. Straight out of Stalin's notebook.
You remember out of that, don't forget, remember that Russian that was a senator, and they were in the middle of a senatorial investigation on these things, and he was talking to Webster Hubble, and he referred to Vince Foster and his suicide, and he said to Webster Hubble that if he were Webster, he would commit suicide, and he said the word suicide. I would commit suicide, Webster Hubble. I'll never forget watching that on C-SPAN or whatever that was, the Senate channel on they have, and it was like unbelievable. I remember Rush Limbaugh made some hay out of that for a few days.
Wow. We're at number 6. We're at number 16. Hillary's here is number 16. Saul Alinsky.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could say any more. Saul Alinsky. She had a long time interest in Saul Alinsky. I read the letter on my show. WND recently found that long after Alinsky's death in June 1972, a group of Clinton co-chaired maintained a working relationship with Alinsky's main community organizing outfit, the Industrial Areas Foundation, or the IAF.
That's the IAF was part of. They were on that, and they served on other boards together too, along with Obama.
Yep.
As well, and they were part. I always thought that the Clintons were probably part of the Weather Underground, but I haven't ever been able to find any proof to that.
I suspect. Number 17.
And don't forget, not only did they have Saul Alinsky, but they were also attached to Clarence Thibodeau.
Yes, and Frank Marshall. Can't think of his last name now. In Chicago, the communist. Hillary.
To be more specific.
A ton of them in Chicago. Hillary laughs about defending child rapists. We just listened to that tape. She said, once I was appointed, I fulfilled that obligation, she said in an interview with Monsnet, a UK community of parents providing and sharing information on a variety of subjects and issues. In the video, she is asked, as a lawyer, you defended the rapist of a 12-year-old girl, calling the victim emotionally unstable and saying that girls have a tendency to exaggerate or romanticize sexual experiences, especially when they come from disorganized families.
Right. Well, Ken, the misunderstanding of the left is that an attorney's job is not to get you off at any cost. It's to ensure that your constitutional rights are not violated.
You got that right.
So there's a far cry difference of what she did and what she was supposed to do.
Which speaks to the problem with justice regarding the fact that she's still on the streets. Period. She should be behind bars. Number 18. Hill cashes in. Iranian fundraising. As WNJC recently reported, Hillary received funds from an arm of the Iranian government and hired a convicted Iranian-American multimillionaire with ties to Tehran as her national campaign finance director in 2008. Wow.
And Mary brings up a good point, too. The guy you were talking about was Frank Marshall David.
Thank you.
And he is who everybody thinks is Obama's real father.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think so. It's been rumored for years. I think that's an interesting theory.
I would love to be there for a Maury Povich DNA test.
Yeah, it's like opening the tomb of Al Capone, Geraldo Rivera.
You know, his father might be Geraldo Rivera.
It could be. That's fascinating.
Number 19. We're almost through. Clinton Foundation. Scandals keep coming. The Clintons appear to have siphoned off tens of millions of dollars annually from funds the Bill and Hillary and Chelsea Clinton Foundation has received from a United Nations-sponsored program that uses levies on airline tickets to help HIV/AIDS victims in the third world. See, my down-low brothers who are listening to this program would never report this to their peeps, that they stole from those who needed it most.
Well, they weren't there to help AIDS victims in Africa. They were there to line their own pockets.
Exactly.
And don't forget also their association with Al Gore and his association with all the Buddhist monks who take a vow of poverty and all the money they were able to raise for the Clintons and the Gores.
Exactly.
And the Clinton Presidential Library and massage parlor.
It's only on Tuesdays. Number 20. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to New Day Black and Red on WNJC 1360 AM. We've been listing at least the top 22 scandals of all time for Hillary Clinton. And she's still got more time left in her life to create more.
She's just getting started.
Just getting started. Number 20, Benghazi. 4 Americans lost. U.S. Ambassador J. Christopher Stevens, U.S. Foreign Service Information Management Officer Sean Smith, 2 CIA contractors, Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty, and they were all killed because of a video. Benghazi.
Yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly. What difference does it make whether he rewounded the tape? Exactly.
He's still in jail, yeah.
What difference?
Care workers to pay dead child's parents more than $2.3 million. What in the world is that about? Oh, the Connor Tilson thing. He was placed in a broken crib without supervision and killed himself.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud. Floors me when I see stuff like that, you know?
Awesome. Peter Franklin Paul is number 21. Hillary's friend goes to prison. Hillary was named in a lawsuit brought by Peter Franklin Paul for allegedly directing to her 2000 Senate campaign an illegal in-kind contribution from Paul that included a fundraiser at the exclusive Spago restaurant in Beverly Hills, a tea hosted at the Beverly Hills home of socialite Cynthia Gershom, and a lavish A-list $1 million plus Hollywood gala honoring Bill Clinton. The hits keep on rolling. Here's number 22 and the last one. Watergate. Need we say more?
Oh, see, there you go. Like I said earlier, the lies of going after President Nixon.
Exactly, and in fact,
or do you mean Whitewatergate?
No. This is before the Whitewater. This is the Watergate. In fact, Democrat Jerry Zefman called her a liar and much worse. This is what he said. She was an unethical, dishonest lawyer. She conspired to violate the Constitution, the rules of the House, the rules of the committee, and the rules of confidentiality.
Yeah. And probably others, but they didn't have time to list them.
And nothing's changed for this woman. So what is justice, in a sense? And where do we get it from? And I just want to read for you real quick out of the Federalist Paper number 78.
Now that's an important one. Before you say that, you should set it up. But this was the argument from Hamilton that the judiciary will be the weakest link in the trifecta of federated government.
Well said. Well said. Oh, well, thank you.
It's psychic time.
Just read what's in front of you and then turn it back over to the professor.
Read the cue card.
Okay, Alexander Hamilton writes, this exercise, forgive me, let me go up one paragraph. Nor does this conclusion by any means suppose the superiority of the judicial to the legislative power. It only supposes that the power of the people is superior to both, and that where the will of the legislature, declared in its statutes, stands in opposition to that of the people, declared in the Constitution, the judges ought to be governed by the latter rather than the former. They ought to regulate their decisions by the fundamental laws rather than by those which are not fundamental. Hamilton goes on to write, it can be of no weight to say that the courts, on the pretense of repugnancy, may substitute their own pleasure to the constitutional intentions of the legislature. This might as well happen in the case of two contradictory statutes, or it might as well happen in every adjudication upon any single statute. The courts must declare the sense of the law, and if they should be disposed to exercise will instead of judgment, the consequence would equally be the substitution of their pleasure to that of the legislative body. The observation, if it prove anything...
Make sure you point that out, though, that he's saying they're legislating from the bench.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Go ahead.
See, I was just reading the cue card, and I'm going to turn it over to you. So here's the end of that cue card, and then you can say what you just said. Okay, here it is. The observation, if it proves anything, would prove that there ought to be no judges distinct from that body. Go forth, sir, and tell them what you're about to tell them.
Actually, that's legislation from the bench. they need to be fired. That should not happen. It's not the design or the role of the courts, and that it's unconstitutional. So when you see all this, if you are a progressive and you're voting for Democrats who are putting these kinds of people on, then you are responsible directly for violating the Constitution and everybody else's rights, including their own.
Now, I want to ask you here, because I ask you anything.
Anything.
The Constitution and Obamacare.
Yes, well, they are two distinct documents.
No, they're not. It's the law of the land. But clearly, Obamacare does not fit the fundamental security of this nation under the Constitution. It's clear. I mean, if John Jay were here today, he would have to rule that Obamacare was unconstitutional. What happened?
Oh, he would, too.
Yeah, he would.
What happened if John Jay and those guys were still around?
What happened? Are we moving away from the Constitution?
Look, do you remember when I talked about the organic documents of our government and the Northwest Ordinance, which is like 3,000 words, the not eminent domain, what's that thing about property?
No, you're right.
Property register.
You're right.
What it's called, right?
Eminent domain.
Not eminent domain, the other one. The one where Lincoln gave away all the property to everybody, start giving away land. It's the way today we protect our land. You can file for it for your home.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called now, but it's about 1,000 words. And the Constitution itself is just a handful of pages. The Declaration of Independence is on a sheet, maybe two, depending on the font you print it out. And there's a reason for all that, and that is they are, as Hamilton would say, laws that everyone can participate in and understand. They're clear, concise, they say what they mean, they don't have ambiguity, and they're not flowery. Now, when you create complicated laws, only experts can participate in it. And so when you get something like Obamacare, the reason it's 70,000 pages long instead of 3,000 words is because it's not designed for you or I to understand. It's designed only for people who can become experts in it. And it is so convoluted and complex that if you are an expert, that's probably the only thing you are an expert in, because you don't have time to study anything else. And so the reason Congress does this is because they are not following the enumerated powers of the Constitution. And the judiciary is not following its rules. And when Obamacare was before the Supreme Court, it should have been struck down, and would have been if it wasn't for the Chief Justice betraying the country and betraying the other justices from the way he told them he was going to vote. He surprised them all. Remember how what's his name, Justice Thomas, how he acted angrily?
Yes.
When he found it's like, you have betrayed us,
Yeah.
And he was right. Well, and the reason for this all is because if it was simple and made for the people and done by the people, we could all understand and participate. But this was all done in secret. It was done in a hush-hush way to usurp our freedoms and powers. And it was also done by hanging a carrot out in front of people, or maybe not a carrot is not right, but like a ding-dong in front of a fat chick. They were dangling it out there to get her to buy into Biden. And they keep doing that. That's the way we get income taxes and stuff, is because they keep telling you, well, the majority of the people won't have to pay anything. Only the ultra-rich will.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get income taxes, and all of a sudden, bam, almost everybody's being covered by income taxes or having to pay into it. And, at one time, now it's not. Now half the country doesn't pay. A mistake that Ronald Reagan made. But the reason that we have these convoluted rules is because we have taken away the spirit of our founding and what made being sovereign the individual being sovereign means. And if you are a sovereign as an individual in this country, and as we claim, as God intended, if you can't understand the laws, then how in the world can you expect to be in charge of government? And so what do we have to do? We have to hire people that are smarter than us and better than us to do this, because only they'll be able to figure this out. And then what we've created is a class of people, an upper class, an uber class of overlords who have become convinced that they are so smart that they can tell us how to live our lives. And they actually believe that they can make all the decisions necessary to run the economy, to run the government, to run our jobs, our lives, every aspect. And that's a result of all this. And that's what you're seeing with what you just read.
Exactly. And it was like Hamilton was sitting right next to us today saying, "I told you so."
Yeah. You know, I have this thing where I think if we wanted to end the energy problem, all we had to do would be to hook generators up to the founding fathers' graves. And the way they're spinning in them, we could probably, power the entire country off of it.
I want to talk with you, sir, about, and you all are listening to a great constitutionalist. It is I don't say this too often to him because he normally says it to me, but I love Michael Jones because he is a brilliant man and a great constitutionalist and a world-renowned professor of high intellect and high standard. And if the founding fathers could have a son, it would be Michael Jones. And I just want to applaud you, sir, in terms of your dedication to classical liberalism and certainly to the Constitution itself, and for being on with us every Saturday at 5 o'clock. It is our gain and not yours when you're present with us. I want. Yes, sir.
I was just wondering, do I owe you for that? Or?
No, that was kind of make up for not calling you this week. I apologize.
That's probably the sweetest thing you've ever said to me.
Oh, tissue, people! Tissue, Tito! I want to talk with you about two things. First and foremost, judicial review. And then secondly, why do we appoint judges and not elect them? So the first thing is,
we do both, actually.
Well, I'm talking about at the Supreme Court level.
Oh, why justices? Not you said judges.
I apologize. I meant justices, but
I'm not being quibbly. I thought I heard judges.
No, you did, and I misspoke, and I apologize. But judicial review, where is that in the Constitution?
Judicial review is not in the Constitution. It resulted from Mayberry v. Madison, a decision that came when Jefferson was appointed, and they knocked out the midnight appointments that John Adams tried to stack the deck with. And the trade was they allowed Jefferson to not appoint them, but by doing so, and by Jefferson winning, that was a very clever way of the Supreme Court usurping the power of judicial review. And the sad thing is it was allowed to stand, and I make a contention that because of that, that was in itself a constitutional convention because it radically altered the Constitution of the United States. And because of that, the judiciary, the Supreme Court on down, has been involved in a constitutional convention ever since, which is one of the reasons I don't fear an Article 5 right now, because I think it would benefit us. And we're already in an open constitutional convention because of this.
Now,
but that's another show.
Yeah, but is there any way that there could be a review of the judicial review of Marbury versus Madison in this regard? Just as there was a review of the oh my God, St. Louis slavery property.
Sanford?
No, the other guy.
Fred Sanford.
Fred Sanford.
George.
The G. Oh, man, I tell you. I am so prepared for the show, aren't I? No.
Which one you talking about? I made so many jokes now, I'm not sure what we're talking about.
No. The court case that brought on the Civil War.
Oh, yes, that's, oh my goodness, now you made me forget.
Exactly!
Not Sanford v. Madison, what is that?
The people in the chat room, please tell us exactly who that is.
Oh, you made me... Dred Scott.
There we go! Dred Scott. Thank you. Yeah. From St. Louis. All right.
Which was the decision of the Supreme Court that blacks are property. Now, mind you, this was done by Supreme Court justices that were also members of the KKK.
And Democrat Party, yeah.
And yes, adorable, I am old and stuff. Notice the Michael Jones guy doesn't get awards, but some news chick does. And I've been with Kim. Not only have I been with Kim longer than her, I've been more hours with Kim than her, and she gets an award for being the longest to tolerate. Just saying.
Janice Hall, we love you. Dred Scott, exactly, with the case that brought on the Civil War. But there was a review of that, and it was found to be unconstitutional. Am I correct?
Well, it was later overturned because Abraham Lincoln set up something called a litmus test, and he would not appoint new justices to the court that would not overturn it.
There you go.
Eventually, it was overturned, but I can't remember the actual case that.
Yeah, but nonetheless.
They did it. 1857, if I'm not mistaken, was Dred Scott.
Yeah.
Was that decision, and it was painful. I listed, and Abraham Lincoln described it as the worst decision ever by the Supreme Court, and by people who run around calling stare decisis, or precedence is what stare decisis is, meaning that if the Supreme Court said it sometime, then it's the new law, it's the way it's going to be. But then I love debating Democrats about this because I ask them if that's true. The Supreme Court ruled that blacks are property. Are you arguing that is a stare decisis and should be maintained as the rule today? And of course, they don't know how to answer that. They, of course not. Well, then you're saying the Supreme Court can make mistakes, and therefore is not the final arbiter. And so how do we overturn these kind of things? It was an 11-year, if I remember, I'm trying to guess here, it's 10 or 11 years going through the courts, and it ended up in the Supreme Court. And I think the Chief Justice was Taney back then. It was in 1857. You can probably Google this stuff.
Yeah.
But what he said was slaves aren't citizens, and therefore not protected by the federated government or its courts, and therefore could be considered property. And of course, that moved us to Civil War. And the way we overturned it was not by the Supreme Court coming and saying, we screwed up, we're making this right. It was by the Republican Party pushing the 13th and 14th Amendments, which said that somehow that black people are people and should be treated like people by the Democrat Party.
Yeah. But it took 645,000 deaths
to a lot of whiteys gave up their lives for that. So, when you see the UN pushing for reparations and saying that we should be making Mount Rushmore into black people and giving away reparations, I'm thinking, I thought we paid full in blood.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Exactly. And actually, Lincoln's comments after the war spoke to that. And also the justifications of Frederick Douglass to bring peace.
By the way, Lincoln.
Yeah. And Frederick Douglass, too, is right around the corner. Coming right up. If not today, it should be in the coming days. In fact, Frederick Douglass picked his birthday to be at a time period that he could celebrate it with the founding fathers, the presidents. So.
Yes. Well, he didn't know it, so I think he wanted it around President's Day, which, because back then we celebrated George Washington and Lincoln's birthdays.
Yep.
In February, and then only recently have we converted it to President's Day, combined all the presidents, and then gave Martin Luther King a day.
Yeah. So.
Which I'm okay with, but I don't know why we had to make it February. We could have given Martin Luther King another day and had 3 holidays in February.
Exactly. Obama has a holiday. Obama has a holiday. Yeah.
Huh?
That might be the last executive order to change President's Day to Obama Day.
Well, I'm predicting that the next federal holiday that we get will be when President Hillary Clinton pardons herself, and we'll call it Pardon Day.
Pardon Day.
Everybody will get a paid day off to go and do whatever they want, and the cops won't be allowed to arrest them or anything. And that's how we'll celebrate it.
And exactly, you greet every woman with "Pardon me, madam."
Yes.
That was a dud. Anyway, point.
It's like when you started in church, man. It's not that funny.
Not that funny at all.
It's not funny, man. It's not funny.
About electing Supreme Court justices. Have we come to the point now? Have we come
Say
to
that again?
about this? Have we gotten to the point where it's time for us to elect Supreme Court justices?
Oh, no. I think what should happen is that my plan is this, that I put up, is that the president nominates the justices, but every year the American people go in November and vote to affirm their continuance. So if we decide that they become naughty in the head, or they're doing unconstitutional things, or usurping power, or legislating from the bench, we can vote them up or down. If we vote them up, they get to continue. It's called good service. Right now, we can get rid of a Supreme Court justice if he's not obeying the Constitution, if he's not serving in good state. It's just almost impossible to do because no one has the guts to actually do those kind of things, like punish a bad politician or judge or justice or whatnot, or bureaucrat. Very rarely does it happen because then they may turn on them, and so they all protect each other. My idea would be that the voters every year have to affirm or not a justice, and if he's not confirmed each year, so when he comes up, if we don't confirm a justice, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who wants to implement foreign law over the Constitution, then we vote her down, then the president has to nominate another one. And I think that would be a good idea.
Wow.
And that way we don't have to worry about term limits or anything. They can serve for life if they get affirmed each year. And believe me, by putting that hurdle in, they'll be a little more attentive to what the will of the people are and whatnot.
No.
So I think that would be a good way to tether them back to the Constitution. But of course, that is provided that we, the people, understand our Constitution and our freedoms and want to hold our betters.
Yeah, because I'm thinking. I looked at the New Hampshire results, and over 200,000 people voted for free stuff.
Well, we need to disabuse the public of that idea. Because like I did on my other show, there's nothing free.
Yes.
There's nothing is free. And I asked people, what are you willing to do free for others so that they can take from you free? Doctors aren't willing to do it. The dentists aren't willing to do it. Cabbies aren't. Uber drivers aren't willing to do it. No one will do anything free in much amounts. There's always a cost. There's always something. Like for instance, we're doing radio shows, you and I.
Yeah.
And no one has to pay to listen to them. They don't have to pay us for it. But they still have to pay for their internet providers and their phones and their computers. I mean, there's a lot of cost to get to that. But we pay for our shows. And so, we're filling the cost for them. But when it comes to stuff government provides, there's nothing free.
Exactly.
And we have to educate. And you see, that's the thing that Common Core has given us. All these millennials actually believe in the concept of a free lunch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want to read to you in finality, and then I'm going to do the Bible study, look at a biblical view of justice. And we want to thank the professor for his constitutional view of justice. And we both agree, biblically as well as constitutionally, there is no doggone way that Hillary Clinton should be walking around in Washington, D.C. or around the world freely. And she should not even be running for president. She should be behind bars. Justice says so. But this is what Hamilton wrote in closing. He said, upon the whole, there can be no room to doubt that the convention acted wisely in copying from the models of those constitutions which have established good behavior as the tenure of their judicial offices in point of duration, and that so far from being blamable on this account, their plan would have been inexcusably defective if it had wanted this important feature of good government. The experience of Great Britain affords an illustrious comment on the excellence of the Constitution. I want to ask you, sir, is it good behavior to rule unconstitutionally?
No.
Thank you.
I had to think about that.
Because someone would say that it's okay to make a mistake. But how can you make a mistake on the Constitution, right?
Well, there can be some limits of interpretation. I mean, remember that Jefferson and Adams were both constitutionalists, and they were both statesmen. They both wanted good for the country, but one believed in a more powerful national government than the other one. And so there is a variation for interpretation. But, we've gone from that level to what we have today, and it's just ridiculous. And sadly, we've gone in both parties, the leadership of both parties are extremists when it comes to the usurpation of our freedoms and liberties.
Mm-hmm.
And we are called the crazy ones because we're trying to get it back.
Exactly.
So, yes, it is wrong to do things that are unconstitutional. The problem is it's like, is a man still wrong if a woman's not there to tell him he's wrong? Well, the answer is yes.
Yes.
But the idea is if Americans no longer know that something's unconstitutional, does that make it constitutional? And the answer is yes. Because the real answer is no, but the way it's being acted out is yes. Because since we don't know that our rights and liberties are getting violated, or at least the majority of us don't, then it's allowed to continue. And these are the people who, by not knowing or not caring, continually re-elect these guys to do more and more of it. And then we pay the price. And yeah.
You're listening to New Day Black and Red, and this has been a very powerful hour and a half program. We've been talking about constitutionally the issue of justice. We've taken a look at Hillary Clinton, and we could have easily spent the rest of the time talking about just her email gate, but we took a look at 22 situations in which Hillary does not deserve to even be running for president based on scandals. And these are not innuendos, these are actual scandals in which she and Bill have been able to get off. So what of us? What is the justice of God? When we look at ourselves, knowing that we are imperfect, we're called upon through the jury of our peers to judge behavior, whether it is good or bad. Many of us in our flaw do not wish to impale others with judgment, so we presume that we don't have the power to judge, and if we are to judge, we are to judge in error of finding fault. We certainly don't want to find fault in another individual because we all sin and fall short of the glory. So I guess for us, justice is okay if it just applies to me and then you differently. But that's not your God. That's not God who loves you. God is ever present. He's unchanging, ever loving, and certainly a disciplinarian. But not the rude, crude one that is referred to by those who are on The View. God's justice is pure and perfect because he is pure and perfect. In fact, when we look at Easton's Bible Dictionary, justice of God is referred to as that perfection of his nature whereby he is infinitely righteous in himself and all he does. The righteousness of the divine nature exercised in his moral government. At first, God imposes righteous laws on his creatures and executes them righteously. Justice is not an optional product of his will. Now, I want you to know that for those who are marching through the streets and burning down cities, you are creating an injustice. So the justice you seek has become optional to you. For those who smash babies' brains and skulls to pull them out of the wounds of a mother, because you go against the fact that there is life and life more abundantly, you go against God's will, and thus you are creating an option in this particular product. And for those justices who see the Constitution, know the Constitution, read the Constitution, and are sworn to obey the Constitution, and yet judge in righteousness, errantly, they too have made an option of his will. Justice is not an optional product of God's will. It is an unchangeable principle of his very nature. What is so confounding to a justice of the Supreme Court about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? They were spelled out by God many years ago, and his principles have not changed. But it seems that our attachment to the moral law has changed. Now it's more of a societal infringement. How dare you judge me? Stop trying to judge me. And yet we judge each other every single day. According to Easton's Bible Dictionary, his legislative justice is his requiring of his rational creatures conformity in all respects to the moral law. Well, how can you say that the law can be moral? Well, it is. It's its law. You can go back through the 10 Commandments and you'll see that the first 4 deal specifically with loving God with all of your heart, with all of your mind, with all of your soul, with all of your strength. They are laws and they're so exacting that most people will never live up to them. And we even fall short on the whole concept of honoring our mother and our father so that we might do well within the land in which we're in. You see, Social Security, according to God's law, was you loving your parents enough to take care of them, to meet their need according to his will and not your own. But we became so selfish as to deprive ourselves of the great glory of taking care of our family, of taking care of our parents. And so we'd rather spend $400 a month playing video games or bowling or some other thing, rather than give it to our parents who are living off a retirement which pales in comparison to the money that they owed. What is justice here? Is it that we are to be dependent on the state, or are we to be dependent on God? Well, the moral law would say that you're dependent on God, and that you would meet each other's need according to his will and not the will of the state, which can, in its own regard, seek its own morality that supersedes yours and even God's. How's that gay marriage working out for you?
Okay, thank you.
Easton's Bible Dictionary says his rectoral or distributive justice is his dealing with his accountable creatures according to the requirements of the law and rewarding or punishing them. And this is the confounding part of being human. All of us want to be rewarded, and none of us wants to be punished. When David fell out with God, God gave him 3 prescriptions for getting back in. All of the remedies required either pain to him personally or pain to his kingdom. And of course, he chose the least of the most painful ones. But it affected everybody. When it comes down to it, even our greatest heroes will choose that we all suffer together than we suffer alone. God rewards and he punishes justly. We choose to reward by our own pursuit rather than by justice. We also choose to punish by our own self-interest rather than the interest of God. In Psalms 89:14, let me read this out to you. Justice and judgment are the habitation of thy throne. Now, for you, my fellow Christian, and I can understand if you happen to not be of the persuasion of Christian or in the way, that you might say, don't judge me, because judgment is first to the house. But we have made judgment because of our ignorance and our own perceptions, and our own discriminative perceptions at least, to be something that is ruthless and cruel and unfair. But if you read Psalms 89:14, both justice and your ability to judge righteously are the habitation of the throne of God. Mercy and truth shall go before thy face. See, when we choose to judge, not by our own perceptions, but by truth and with mercy, we won't be building memorials to 6'4", 300-pound drugged out thugs who wish to strong arm someone to take some cigars out of a convenience store and then charge after a police officer attempting to render his life of no repute, and then have one of our brothers, as we're laying on the concrete, lie and say that we had our hands over our head. Don't shoot. That's not justice, and it is rather poor judgment. Justice and judgment belong to God, and if you say you belong to God, then you should judge things with mercy and with truth. Easton's Bible Dictionary says, in remunerative justice, he distributes rewards. If you look at James 1:12, blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. 2 Timothy 4:8, henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, and not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. Remember Matthew 6:33, and it says that we shall pursue God's kingdom and his righteousness, and that all these things shall be added unto us. You don't have to eisegete justice and judgment. You can exegete and see throughout the scriptures that justice and judgment were one in God's eyes. Justice, he inflicts punishment on account of transgression. 2 Thessalonians 1:6 says, seeing it is a righteous thing with God to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. Yes. And easily people will come around you and say, well, if you do a bad thing, it will come back on you later on. Well, actually, that's not a truth. A truth is God has the right in his kingdom to judge his children, lest they be bastards. And as a result, when we transgress the commandments, the statutes, the ordinances of God, we open ourselves up to his righteous judgment, which will avail us some tribulation. But he is also faithful to forgive us if we ask, and cast our sins into the sea of forgetfulness. I close with saying this to you. He cannot, as being infinitely righteous, do otherwise than regard and hate sin as intrinsically hateful and deserving of punishment. He cannot deny himself. 2 Timothy 2:13. If we believe not, yet he abideth faithful. He cannot deny himself. Simply put, if we judge righteously, if we seek justice righteously, if we live righteously, if we perceive righteously, God can do nothing but reward us for us being succinct in our combined hatred for sin. His essential and eternal righteousness immutably determines him to visit every sin as such with merited punishment. So I ask you, America, as you have foregone the Constitution with Marbury versus Madison, do you not think that maybe we have gone too far when we, on the steps of our churches, marry a man with a man and then bless it with the ordinance of God? Justice of God is served. You, Professor, commentary, words, statements?
After that,
Thank you, sir.
no, thank you.
When is your next show, sir?
What is today? Thursday, so next one will be Sunday, 6 p.m.
Excellent.
Central Texas God's time.
Which is the best time because it's in the Republic of Texas.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good friend of mine once told me, well, actually, I have to do this before I do anything else. I have to thank, firstly, my wife, Mrs. Biggs, for staying up and watching on live stream and Ustream. Smooches, love you. To Mary Brockman, Dave Milner, Unloved, a hint, hint.
Well,
Deborah, thank you for watching via Facebook. We love you all. Smooches to you. But a friend of mine, and also, forgive me, one other thing, to the Benevolent Dictator, Rick Trader, almost forgot, I apologize. Conservative Commandos Radio Network. Thank you so much for bearing with us at WNJC 1360 AM, the superstation of Philadelphia, for the best in conservative talk. Also to High Plains Talk Radio, SHR Media, and Rebooting Liberty, and all the other stations along the network. If I can't get to all of them, and I apologize, but thank you all so much for following us. But a friend of mine who happens to be on the air with me right now, the great Dr. Michael Jones, told me once, never live cowardly, Ken. Die bravely. I promise you I always will. And without further ado.
better to die bravely than to live the life of a coward.
Yeah, I said that.
I didn't say to go die.
That's what you're...
Honestly, I don't know. I've been thinking.
I will call you. I will call you.
Oh, it's too late now. Forget it. Both of them are hurt.
Always remember, people, live bravely. Do not die a coward. I want you to know that I always will. And for all of us at New Day Black and Red, we wish you the very best of days and weekends. Enjoy Valentine's Day, not because it's one day out of the year, but it's every day when you love the one that you love. Love the one that you're with also, if you get a chance to. Just joking.
Love the one you're with. Love the
God bless it, America. Now, America, remember, it's time for you to bless God. Good night and God bless. We'll talk to you next week, 5 p.m.
on Toodles.
Toodles. Smooches.
Gracias.
All of the above. Funky Chunk. Good night, Professor.